stress as a general topic, I really had to deal with that if it's too long or too intense or I don't see the way out, it really lets me sleep very bad, stop exercising, be grumpy to my wife, not see my friends. No, all of this happens. So I think that is a very important topic for me.
Well, Peter, thank you for the invite. My name is Myrthe. I'm an organizational psychologist for OpenUp. And OpenUp and Picnic are working together. We are here at the Picnic office in Amsterdam. And OpenUp is a platform, and we support people to work on their mental health. And that is why we are talking today as well. So first, a short introduction of you maybe as well, yeah?
Yeah, so my name is Peter, and I'm responsible for the Fulfilment Operation in the Netherlands. So that is all the 3,500 of shoppers that do the order picking every day.
Yeah, well, a short introduction it is, thank you. And first question, how are you doing?
Yeah, actually I'm doing now very good.
Good to hear.
Very happy and very much in balance, yeah.
Okay, and well, how did you do that?
Yeah, I must say I think it's only a couple of weeks that I feel like that. I had a 2-week holiday before, so that helped. Yeah. And I think prior to that, it was quite an intense period. I think for, not per se only for me individually, but on top of all the things we have in Picnic and on top of the corona situation, I think also personally I had to deal with my father-in-law who passed away. And at the same time, a little kid that was born, and at the same time, moving houses. So both positive and negative things.
Sounds very challenging to me.
Yeah.
Yes. And well, how did you deal with such circumstances?
Yeah, I think the things you plan for, I can deal with. Moving a house, you can also do later. So I think there I felt in control. But I think things like even a little kid, although clearly we wanted a little kid, it still decides by itself how it sleeps, etc. So there I think it's quite tough, how to deal with it.
Yeah. And what did you do?
Yeah, I think initially you think you have to make an action plan for everything and you have to deal with it. So that was my first action, on the move, on the kid, where do I sleep, how does he sleep? But then with my father-in-law, you suddenly feel not everything has an action plan, right? And that is, I think there I just need to process, and that was tough,
Yeah. And can you tell me a little bit more about how you process such things?
I think initially, I just, not good processing, just not sleeping. That happens to me. I think what I then...
Are you a bad sleeper?
Yes, very bad sleep in general, But also when I feel good, but of course that impacts me, yeah. And I'm a light sleeper as well, so I think with a kid and then with processing the fact of a loss, I think that is in the night then sort of the moment you start thinking about it, yeah.
Start worrying about all the things that happen in your life.
And both from worrying, of course, for the loss, for yourself, but also for my wife and for my mother-in-law, but also sort of worrying on, okay, what's next, and like, how do we get happy, sort of feeling, and that is, that's what your mind then also at night really starts processing.
Yes. That's how it works.
Yes, unfortunately it is like that. Yeah.
But you are happy right now, you said, and do you know what little changes you made becoming happy again?
Yeah, good question. I think the holiday at least was sort of like, I thought like I need to stop one of the things I do, and work at that stage felt as the, between brackets, easiest thing to pause for a while. Yeah. And that allows you to reflect and think about, okay, what am I then going to do, instead of going in this machine of every day doing the same stuff. And then I fell back on talking, of course, to my wife a lot, doing a lot of walks, and exercising, which I can do much more if I don't work. And that are the two things for me.
Yeah. So talking to someone who's close to you and exercising, so you kind of open up to your wife.
To the name of your company, yes. Yeah, and I think that is, this is one example, but that is really for me something that is needed. I know it's not for everyone talking works, but for me really opening up to not only my wife, but to others helps. Yeah.
And what specific others do you open up to?
No, I must say, I think for a long time my mum. But I don't know why, but recently not so much. Now it's also my best friend, for example, who I call, and that's actually only recent started. He's my best friend for a long time, but I'm not sure if it's really a male thing or whatever, but we didn't do that, then we were not opening up. And now actually, whilst we are doing it, it's actually working out very well.
Okay, and what changed?
Yeah, maybe getting older. Maybe that is it. I don't know if there's a specific thing that impacted it. I think also maybe just sort of being more vulnerable is not per se a bad thing, that I felt that, or sort of. But with him, I experimented a little bit. I think that might be the reason, yeah.
And how is it with, looking at opening up at work in your role as a company leader?
Yeah. No, I think I'm quite open to the people that I work with very closely. Clearly, those are the people in the operations, in the fulfillment centers that run that show every day there. And also on the topic that I just mentioned, I also tell them, which I think for me helps a lot personally to process.
So you share your personal stories as well?
Yeah. Of course, I mean, not hours and hours. Not everyone is sort of my therapist, but clearly just ventilating a little bit your struggles, because I think, you can try to hide, but they also see how you behave, and if you're maybe a little bit less creative or less energetic, or they see that. So I thought it's also fair to them to at least explain a little bit what my situation is, which was not work related, but still to share. Yeah.
Well, and I think practice what you preach is very important to do.
Yeah.
So, and if you don't do that, you kind of don't invite them to tell or to speak up as well. Yeah,
and that is true, and I think, although not everyone will speak up the same per se as I do, but I always try to explain to them that there's no impact of anything at work if you would open up to me. Work will not be your decisive impact to what you say to me. Like if you're tired or you're not tired or you're energetic or not energetic, I will not use them work to impact that. And that is what I'm trying to tell them. Like, look, you don't need to share with me how you feel, etc. Although I'm your team lead, but you can.
Yeah.
And that's
Feel
what I'm
free
trying
to open up if you want to.
Absolutely. Yeah, without consequences, basically. That's sort of what I want to say.
That's very important, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, and looking back on the last year, because it wasn't, for you personally, it was, it was maybe a tough year.
Yeah. Intense. Yeah.
Intense.
In many ways.
Yes, in many ways. And what did you notice on the work floor?
Yeah. No, I think went a bit in waves, maybe almost like the Corona waves. That the first start of Corona was personally, but also on the floor, a huge impact. Clearly, you know that you have a vital role to help all these people getting their groceries, but at the same time, a lot of people, 3,500, are thinking about their own health, which they should. And how do you deal with it? And I think that was for everyone that I also work with a huge sort of uncertainty and things you cannot always control. So that was, I think, a very intense period, which luckily I think we all went through very resilient. And then you get a sort of a wave of, okay, what's next? Are we now getting back to normal? There was the summer. Well, clearly we were not, but that felt a bit at that time. Terraces opened. So I think there we sort of, I think everyone felt a bit back to normal. And then the second wave came also in terms of risks again, and again, people being uncertain. So I think it went like that. And clearly, I think the only sort of benefit we had as the people we work with, they can still go to work. And of course, that is like, oh, can I go to work? Is it safe, etc. Now, we test everyone, for example, now in every location, so that gives security. But I also have colleagues that I work with who, for example, also work here now, and now they can, but that were home for a long time. And that impact, I think, I have personally not experienced that so much, but I see that is also a huge impact.
Yeah, working from home.
Only, like being locked in your own home, not seeing your colleagues is massively underestimated from my point of view. Yeah.
And what do you think, how about the mental health of the employees of Picnic at the moment?
Yeah,
do you have
I think
any idea?
Mixed bag. I think we, as an office, always, or let's say and I was not so much involved in that personally, but I think Picnic is one of the offices that opened the longest, so we never fully closed. We always try to help also with, let's say, digital events, etc. So compared to, let's say, my friends who work in other companies, I think we were still, let's say, helping a lot. But yeah, that it had an impact on some of them is still happening, I'm 100% sure.
Yes, yes. And what do you think is important when it comes to mental health in a company such as Picnic? What are things to do as a company leader or as an HR organization? Yeah,
good point. I think probably the feeling that you're still part of of the company is already a massive job we have to do, you know. And of course, the digital events I think worked very well, but I also must say, recently we wanted to do another one for the fulfillment operation, and they were also digital event tired. They said, seen too many, I've seen too much, I'm okay, let's wait, we have a couple of months left, I don't know how long, but that we can really open up and see each other. So let's wait for that instead of doing another Zoom borrel. But I think still that is that is our job to facilitate at least, and let's see if not everyone wants to join, that is okay. Yeah.
That's okay. And what kind of culture do you strive for?
Yeah, I think at least, so let's start with diverse and respectful. And that is the two things I really always try to push for, that we don't become this sort of, oh, that is Picnic, oh, everyone who works there is this. You know, if that would be a sentence, I don't know what it is, I would hate it. So diverse, but then still feeling part of it and feeling respected, that is sort of my first thing I think of. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sounds great. And we already talked a lot about you as a company leader and mental health in an organization. But I want to, take a kind of deep dive into your personal life again.
Yeah.
Looking back on your life or specific areas of life maybe and your mental health, are there topics that come up into your mind?
Yeah, I think, you know, having now worked for Picnic for almost 4 years, and also prior I've worked for 6 years in a multinational, that I think as sort of waves, stress as a general topic, I really had to deal with, and both from a very positive side, that stress really energizes me, makes me super creative, and lets me go the extra mile. But also to sort of like a negative element, that if it's too long or too intense, or I don't see the way out, it really lets me sleep very bad, stop exercising, be grumpy to my wife, not see my friends. No, all of this happens. So I think that is a very important topic for me.
So it is the stress has a good and a bad way.
Absolutely.
How it works
for me
out
personally,
for you.
yes.
Yeah. And can you give me an example of a situation in which it turns out very well?
No, I think, for example, the start of Corona, there was, of course it happened in China very early, but I think for Picnic, where I then was responsible, was around March, where there was a lot of things uncertain, and we needed to make a lot of choices. So how do you do that? Like you're impacted by something you didn't choose. I didn't choose Corona, I would rather don't have a pandemic. And you have to make a lot of choices for a lot of people who want to go to work safely and make sure that they can still deliver all those groceries to the customers. Yeah. And there I think the stress helped me to think a lot faster and come up with a lot of more ideas. And it clearly also reduced my sleep, so you had more time. And I think for a short term that was okay. You know, a couple of weeks where we were in, or almost a month, very intense period. It really helped me to be at my best. But then I also felt after 1 month, okay, how long will this last? I mean, the pandemic is not over.
Yeah. Yeah. And how do you recover then to create a more balance in that stress? Yeah. Stress life.
Yeah. So one thing, because it was not my first time. So what I know is that it, generally speaking, never lasts forever. Also the feeling, but also what is happening to you externally. So I sometimes tell myself, just wait a bit, you know. And of course, it's a fine line, and I never know when that is. Mm-hmm. But that is one that I give myself some patience to get through it. Even though I sleep bad, I tell myself, I know I sleep badly, but I will get out of it. You know, that's one sort of mindset I then take. And the second one is that I need to find active moments to exercise. So I even tell, like, look, this morning I'm not going to work. I have to exercise.
What do you do?
Running. Yeah,
running.
Yeah,
okay, clearing your head and...
Yeah, I cannot... some people think about work doing running. Impossible for me. I just need to run without music and think about running. Yeah.
Okay, so running is important to you. Yeah. Opening up to your wife or something...
Absolutely.
Someone else who's close to you. Exercising, very important. Sleeping as well.
Yeah.
And if you, maybe you can give an advice to the employees of Picnic or other people who watch this video. What would that advice be? When it comes to mental health, of course.
Yeah, I think maybe finding the like, what is your balance? You know, like, and it's maybe theoretical, but what I mean is it 1 time a week running, or is it 2 times? Is it speaking to everyone, or is it speaking to only your wife enough? Like, finding those type of elements that you say, if I do this for a week or 2 weeks, I know I'm doing the right thing for myself. Yeah. If I'm not doing one of those, for example, if I know I sleep for 4 days in a row, 4 hours, I know I have to check in again. Yeah. So finding the balance for me is a tip that I use actively to think, like, what should I do to get back?
So Picnic as a company, has a huge growth in the last years. How did that affect you, looking at your mental health?
Yeah, I think a good example is a couple of years ago we were still very young, and I came, of course, from a multinational company before, which clearly did a lot of things already in 100 years. And I saw that we were growing very fast. A lot of new people came in, and we were still thinking on how to set up a proper HR team and also a proper structure on security, for example, contracts for people. And at that time, I was quite nervous that we could not offer that to the people at that time. And luckily now, with a lot of support from people around us, we have that now in place and we can offer people contracts. And that made, at least for me personally, I felt also that I did the right thing for all those people that are still growing. I mean, we're growing very fast, more and more people joining us, but that is at least available to them now.
Yeah. So by the growth, you feel kind of supported as well now.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And another question I have is about the reflections you had during your holidays.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what thoughts are coming up into your mind lately.
Yeah, so one of the things is that I always want to solve something. So if there's an issue or topic, I have to solve it.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I didn't really figure out yet is having a kid. Of course, having a kid is the most beautiful thing that happened to my life. But I'm still sort of processing the fact that it comes extra in your life, but how to deal with all the expectations that you already had of your life and how you had to build up that balance. Yeah. And now a kid comes in and it disturbs you in many ways, but also it makes things, again, more beautiful. But how do you then make that all in the society you're in still fitting? Yeah. And I think that's puzzle I didn't solve yet.
Yeah, it's a balance question as well, I guess.
Yeah.
And what kinds of, what kind of things do you find difficult then right now?
Yeah, which things are you not going to do?
Yeah,
because you have
making choices, prioritizing, maybe.
Yeah. And that is very hard for me to not do something.
But you have to, because you only have 24 hours in a day. Yeah. So what kind of decisions do you make?
Now, for example, I think an interesting one is I had no issue with the evening curfew, which means I have never seen any light after 10 o'clock because I really needed to go to bed earlier. Yeah. So that is a choice I actively had to make. Don't stay awake. You know, in the beginning I was not even tired, more exhausted. That's one thing I've done.
So the sleep again is
trying to get more
to
hours.
Yeah. And how does that affect you? That it's difficult for you making choices.
Yeah, I think mostly it makes me insecure. Like, what am I gonna do? Yeah. I think at the same time, I'm telling myself, like I did in other situations, time will also give me an answer. That is now my current.
Time will tell.
That's sort of my strategy at this stage. Yeah. If it will help, I don't know yet, but that's what I've chosen now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And a question. Well, the last question for me, what is the reason that you started to work together with OpenUp?
I think that we underestimate the amount of people that would like to have some sort of support and help that is not per se your direct person you work for. And I think that is something that the bigger we became, the more apparent it is. And also I think it's not so easy to speak for 3,500 people, right?
No.
It doesn't work like that. So you need to facilitate that everyone has the ability to open up in their own way. And what that means is not that per se everyone has to go to open up, but it is there. And definitely can give you benefits if it's an easier accessible forum than going immediately to a therapist, or which sounds also for me as a huge barrier to take. Whilst this OpenUp also to me seems like a very nice first element where it's much lighter than I expected to be able to speak and see what comes out. And maybe it's nothing, maybe it's a lot, and that doesn't matter. Yeah.
Well, feel free to talk about improving your sleep,
yes.
Of course. But I think for everyone at Picnic, if they have a question about their mental health, an issue, or just want to reflect on their day-to-day work or personal life, maybe they are welcome, of course. And I want to thank you for opening up as well, being so open today. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.